Hello, televiewers. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are very happy to be before your screens this evening. We are going to be looking at two key topics for this evening, which has to do with the Prime Minister's meeting, where he called ministers to order with respect to the manner in which they are handling the COVID-19, accusing or accordingly considering that ministers are working in a very haphazard manner. We equally are going to be looking at university institutions in Cameroon, asking ourselves whether they are playing that role of centers of excellence, ready to give a way out to the government by way of advice when faced with crisis. Cameroon is faced with many crises. We've seen the nation tackle the Anglophone crisis, knowing that many historians are teaching in most of our state universities. We don't know how far they went to advise government to fix the issue. We are now faced with COVID-19. State universities certainly have researchers and other related experts. What has been their input as far as our nation is concerned? Just to note that this evening or afternoon, Professor Joseph Owona was appointed member of the Constitutional Council. Good evening, you're welcome. We are going to be discussing these two topics with our panelists who are already in the house. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa is a man of God and a political analyst. We are glad to have you this evening with us.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Thank you, my co-panelist, Professor Mark Anthony. Thank you, the millions of televiewers of Prime Hour. I normally call it the talk of the nation. We're here once more again to deliberate issues and to set the way forward and put the record straight for the well-being of our country, Cameroon. Thank you.
Okay, also with us is Professor Mark Anthony Afumbom. We are glad to have you with us this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, and thank you to the million thousand viewers out there viewing us at this particular hour. I want to say I believe that this particular season of time is a time that the Lord has actually prepared in order to lift up the nations of the world. But before that happens, we need to be able to realize that He is the ultimate. I'm talking in this position as a servant of the Most High, because I believe that there is nothing that happens without the hand of God. So whatever I'll be doing this evening, be rest assured we will get it.
Okay, we are assured that we are going to be educating Cameroonians, but I start with you, Apostle Ambe. Before the meeting by the Prime Minister, where he gave firm orders for the ministers to toe the line as far as handling this crisis is concerned, did you, like many other persons and the Prime Minister, observe that there was cacophony in the manner of operation of ministers in the fight against coronavirus?
It's very, very disheartening to realize that Cameroon, as a nation of law and a very organized system of government, does things in a haphazard manner. There is so much pandemonium and anarchy as far as managing the crisis in Cameroon is concerned. If you look at it critically, we have had informations come on air that have not been validated. Recently, the mind-blowing one that came up was that of the Minister of Secondary Education. We got information that schools will resume on the 20th of April with a communique signed by the minister. And then later on, the minister came on air to debunk the fact that actually she wasn't part of the team. I was wondering if the information was still a secret. How could they have possibly circulated out of the confines of the ministry until it went out into the social media? In times past also, we've had a journalists in the nation of Cameroon come on air and then give news that were later on banished or cancelled, that the news was not proper. And recently the case of the Minister of Territorial Administration, words are flying in the air left and right. I think there are many other occasions whereby information before even the COVID-19. Informations have been malhandled in this nation. So I think it's a very great initiative and a very intelligent one for the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph Diongute, to have come up with the initiative to put order in the House so that information should be scrutinized and censored before they are published in the air. I think it's a good idea.
Yes, Professor Mark, what would have accounted for this cacophony of the manner of operation in government's apparatus?
Yes, Mr. Leo, I will begin by saying that the nation of Cameroon as a whole actually prevails on this order. And that implies that it will not be a new thing to discover that the manner in which the handling of this particular COVID-19 is done in a cacophonic manner, because it is already part and parcel of the system. You know, each individual in this government is struggling to show himself to mean or to matter. And if that's the way a nation is supposed to be run, then we'll be saying that those who are leading us are actually leading us into failure. Why? Because they don't do things with order. I believe that there is a prime minister in this country, there is the president, there is a prime minister. And the prime minister being the head of the government, there is supposed to be order. If something is supposed to be done, it's supposed to pass through his office. If a minister is supposed to take a decision, he should be taking a decision in the capacity in which he has been appointed to operate in. And when that is not done, a lot of disorder is created. You can't be a minister, for example, the Minister of Territorial Administration, and you are playing the role of the Minister of Health, and you are playing the role of the Minister of Finance, you are playing the role. So it's just like you
cannot define your job.
There's no defined order on how things should be done. So asking me what can account for that, I will simply tell you it is the basic, there is a way in which this nation had been run for years. It's not starting today. So it is an old thing, and that is based on the system in which we operate in. Cameroon, the system, the governmental system of Cameroon is cacophonic.
Okay, you say it's cacophonic. Has this exposed the level of incoherence in the way things are done in Yaoundé, and also could the over-centralized manner of operations in Cameroon have accounted for that, where we have seemingly a prime minister, head of government, and some ministers who prefer to take orders directly from maybe the presidency? Everybody is looking to want to please the president.
In a democratically sane society, order runs chronologically. I don't see how people will bypass their immediate boss to consult another authority. It's obviously clear that the structure of Cameroon is not properly organized. I told somebody that we are yet to discover the system of government that Cameroon practices, because in a centralized system of government, or a federal system of government, or a confederation, or a democratic or a dictatorial system of government, you'll be able to understand how things are operating. You look in the federal system of government, the governor of a state has some level of authority, but he's still submitted to the president. It depends if it is quasi or direct federation. Like in America, it's a quasi federation. Judges in particular communities have authority that can even bypass the president's rule. In Nigeria, it's a direct federation. It's somehow different. But you come to Cameroon, we are yet to define the system of government here, because it is based on who you know. It's not based on where you occupy. What you occupy as a position in this country does not really count. That's the reason why a man who walks in the street can get a police officer locked up in prison because of who he knows. And that's the reason why there's so much disorder in the whole system. Now, if a minister does not understand his job description, that's where another trouble is coming from. We have to make the ministers know their job description, because every time leadership is put in place, the person who's giving the responsibility of leadership should be given a job description. But I see that most of our ministers don't even know their job description. How? It is as a result of the fact that we don't even appoint people who are qualified in certain offices. You put round peg in square holes and square pegs in round hole. A man studies law, you make him minister of defense. A man studies history, you make him minister of sports. So you discover that based on what they are trained and their qualification, they are even put in offices that they are not even competent in the offices. By so doing, it causes a person to be reacting contrary to the responsibility given to him. So this cacophony in the government is not just an issue of the ministers not actually respecting each other, because they don't even know their job description.
Yeah, but it's funny for you to claim today that ministers don't know their job descriptions because...
Mr. Leo, I'll put it straight to let me
yeah,
quote
because
you.
when the Prime Minister, most of the ministers who are appointed, they installed by the Prime Minister, have witnessed it, and they're giving firm instructions and what they call roadmap as to what they have to do. And it is often said that administration is continuous, which means that the roadmap that was set in place by your predecessor is supposed to be followed. So, isn't it funny to say that a minister would not know what is expected?
It's funny because somebody cannot study history. You make him Minister of Defense.
Yeah, but
the problem is what is inside of him. He will definitely vomit what is inside of him.
No, but he has technical advisor number 1, number 2, number 3, and the specialists in that domain.
If all these technical advisors were listened to, we will not have communicators that do not have right dates. What are you telling me in this country? A minister is in a particular ministry and sends out a communicator that does not have a right date.
Okay.
Where were all the secretaries and the technical advisors?
That could be a typo error. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Leo, I will not want to actually differ with
Apostle Lambe.
What I want to do is to speak from where he is speaking. One thing I know as the result of this disorder basically might not be the lack of capacity or might be lack of job description. Because normally before you enter an office, there's a well-designed objective which you need to follow. And when you come, there is a vision that the government actually gives you as a minister which you need to run through. And when that is done, each and every one of them knows what they are supposed to do. But there is something that is actually wrong. The appointment of ministers is a presidential duty. It comes from the president. And as a result of that, a lot of people are not working for the good of the country. They are working to please the president. And so each person wants to show up in his own capacity that he is able to take function and do it well. And so sometimes some of them will step into other people's jobs. In one way or the other, is a means of discrediting the person who is actually working, for you to feel like the person is not doing his work well. And so at times, that cacophony comes from that competition that comes from within the members of the government, whom in one way or the other, each and everyone is struggling to make sure they please the boss. They bypass their immediate boss. They are struggling to please the person that actually appointed them. If you have noticed, anytime there's an appointment of a minister, listen to what they say. We are thanking the president of the republic. They fail to realize an appointment into an office is a sacrifice that you are supposed to do. It's a service to the nation. And the fact that the president appointed you does not mean that you are working for the president. You are working for the nation. And since these guys, they are working to please the president, they forget their functions and they get into things they are not supposed to do. They create disorder. I said something earlier. The nation of Cameroon prevails in disorder. When there is disorder, this country prevails well. But when there is order, there is no prevalence. And so, that is why you discover there's a kind of laissez-faire spirit that operates in this country. Anybody, anywhere can do anything the way he wants, believing that there is, I have somebody who can stand for me, like you earlier said. And you see, as a result of that, somebody can step into, as a minister or might be an appointed official in a particular ministry or let's say a military official somewhere, steps out and does what he or she wants. Look, for example, concerning the fight of COVID-19. A commissioner's wife was out of the country. He travels back into the country. The minister have given orders. When you enter the country, you are supposed to be quarantined.
Yeah, but
Mr. Leo, look at it.
Yeah.
When this woman came, the husband went and removed her from the hospital.
Yeah, but
what do you call that?
Yeah, but that's the wife of the commissioner. We saw the key lawmaker of the nation, in the person of the Speaker of the National Assembly, who came into the country a day after a decision was given by the Minister of Public Health for everybody to be quarantined. But 2 days after, he was sent.
He was working. Okay, that's just to prove to you the state of the country. It is a country that we say we are a state of law. but there is a lot of lawlessness that is
There's
practiced.
a lot of
in
lawlessness practiced in Cameroon. Apostle Ambe, now when the Prime Minister calls everybody to order and give firm instructions that before you take to the media henceforth, I will need to okay everything that you are doing. Is this not stifling the spirit of creativity and the taking of initiatives? Because people would say that whatever I work for and I think about, the Prime Minister may take credit for it.
No, he might not. He will never take credit for it, because why? When the ministry executes an assignment, it is under the banner of the ministry. The Prime Minister did not ask people that he should think for them. He said their decisions should be scrutinized, which means if a communique is going on air, after it has been scrutinized under the Prime Ministry, it will carry the name of the minister and the ministry. People outside will see what the ministry and the minister has done. It is within the back doors that they will check and understand that it is the Prime Minister or his Prime Ministry that censored the material before it was released outside. So I think it's a very good initiative, because why? To me, the Prime Minister is very sane and very organized. To me, I appreciate that gesture. It's very, very organized, because why? It was an event that led to him bringing out this principle. Something led to his decision today. People were doing this in a haphazard manner, were doing this in a disordered manner. He has decided to set order. So it's obvious that you can think your idea, bring it, we scrutinize it, look at it. If it is good for the consumption of the public, we release it. Rather than sending things in the air, that proves that our administration is totally epileptic. So I think the Prime Minister is trying to buy the image of the nation as far as disorderliness is concerned. And as the Prime Minister, you and I know Prime means the head. He's the head of all the ministers. He has that authority and has that right to put things in order as far as every ministry is concerned. So I don't think that is going to stifle people's creativity. You can think your creativity whether you are thinking about it. The problem is, let us put it in order. There is something to call in English guided writing.
Yeah.
Guided writing, you can say, East boy went Kumba, put it in order. So sometimes our ministers will write unguidedly. So the Prime Minister is there to put the thing guidedly. So the boy went to Kumba. Boy, Kumba went. We mix it. So I think the ministries are doing mixed writing while the Prime Minister wants to do guided writing. So I think he wants to set order. Orderliness is not taking somebody's brain and reasoning with it. It's just putting what he has put in a disordered manner in an orderly manner. That's all.
Okay, now let's look at beyond the government circle, where seemingly also, especially in the ranks of the opposition, we see